They'll tell you Peter Thiel barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. Just casual dinners, business small talk. Nothing to see here. But I've got the calendar entries, and what they show isn't networking. It's something way more deliberate. August 28th, 2016. Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. 71 days before the election. Around that table, Peter Thiel, Tom Barrack, Ehud Barak, and Russia's UN ambassador, Vitaly Churkin. This wasn't some charity gala or tech conference mixer. This was the private residence, the same East 71st Street mansion where Virginia Giuffre testified she was trafficked, where the crimes happened. And the host connecting them all? A convicted sex offender who'd somehow positioned himself as the bridge between Trump's inner circle and Putin's diplomatic apparatus. I've spent over a decade analyzing how power networks actually function, from the PayPal mafia to defense contractors. And what I'm about to show you isn't just some conspiracy theory. It's emails, investment records, calendar entries that reveal how Epstein didn't just collect powerful people, he connected them strategically. How a $40 million investment became the down payment for access. Why these dinners happened when they did. And what encrypted signal conversations tell us about coordination during the most consequential election in modern American history. Because what we're seeing in these files, it's not social climbing, it's the network effect. And it runs straight through cryptocurrency, surveillance tech, Russian diplomacy, and the Trump campaign. Let me show you what the calendar actually reveals. The pattern emerges. June 2014. Epstein arranges a meeting between Ehud Barak and Peter Thiel in New York. Barak can't make it, so Epstein insists, spend real time with Peter Thiel. Sets up dinner the following month. Barak later writes to a business associate, calling it a first date with Thiel, where they probably just talk geopolitics. He mentions meeting Thiel once before at Davos, but figures Thiel probably doesn't even remember because he was under some drug impact. By July 2014, Thiel and Epstein are emailing about Bitcoin regulation at the New York Stock Exchange. September that year, Epstein hosts back-to-back meetings. Peter Thiel in one slot, William Burns in the next, then Deputy Secretary of State under Obama, now Director of the CIA. 2 meetings, same day. Tech billionaire followed by top intelligence official. Then 2015, the money starts flowing. The $40 million question. Epstein invests $40 million in Valor Ventures, Thiel's international fintech fund. This is rare for Epstein, who almost never put his own money into other people's funds. According to confidential estate documents reviewed by the New York Times, that investment has grown to $170 million, making it the single largest remaining asset in Epstein's estate. Let me be precise about what that means. Epstein invested $40 million. It's now worth $170 million, a 325% return. And according to leaked emails from Ehud Barak, Valor Ventures was co-owned by Thiel and Epstein as they bought into Carbine, an Israeli surveillance tech firm. Now, Thiel's spokesperson has a response ready. They met with Epstein in 2014 because he was a well-known advisor to world leaders, top universities, and philanthropic organizations. Standard crisis management language. But here's what that statement conveniently ignores. This was 2014, 6 years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for procuring underage girls. 6 years after the sweetheart plea deal that let him serve 13 months in a private wing of a county jail. Epstein wasn't well known for advising universities. He was well known for being a registered sex offender. And Thiel, libertarian tech billionaire, opponent of government overreach, champion of individual freedom, took $40 million from a convicted pedophile, then continued meeting with him for lunches, dinners, and encrypted conversations through 2017. 3 years after the initial investment, 2 years after adding more money to the fund. The 2016 escalation. The calendars on 2016 shows things ramping up. April 5th, Thiel emails Epstein. What are you up to on Friday? Should we try for lunch? April 8th, Epstein's itinerary shows lunch with Thiel, followed by a stop at Thiel Capital in San Francisco. August 28th, the dinner invitation, Churkin, Barrack, and Barrack. August 31st, Epstein writes to Thiel. Tom Barrack really liked you. He told me about the conversation in the green room, meaning they'd met, talked, connected, exactly as Epstein orchestrated. And here's where it gets darker. Vitaly Churkin wasn't just Russia's UN ambassador. According to investigative reporting, Churkin was the diplomat who arranged Donald Trump's first trip to Moscow in 1987 under direct orders from KGB chief Vladimir Khrushchev as part of a recruitment operation to identify and cultivate American assets. In 2017, after Churkin died suddenly of alleged heart failure at age 64, Epstein sent an email to Peter Thiel. As you read, my Russian ambassador friend died. Friend, not acquaintance, not contact. Churkin was the 5th Russian diplomat posted abroad to die unexpectedly between November 2016 and February 2017, right after Trump's election. The New York City medical examiner performed an autopsy suggesting toxicology tests were needed. Those results were never made public. This isn't networking. This is infrastructure. And Epstein was the system's architect. The cryptocurrency angle. Now let me dismantle the defense that this was just about cryptocurrency and technology. Because yes, there were legitimate business discussions, but the context reveals something far more strategic. Epstein wasn't just interested in Bitcoin as an investment. He saw cryptocurrency as geopolitical leverage. In a 2013 email to Sergei Belyaev, a senior Russian official who graduated from the FSB spy academy and served as advisor to Putin oligarch Oleg Deripaska, Epstein used the Sputnik analogy. He argued Russia could leapfrog the global community by reinventing the financial system of the 21st century through new forms of money. By 2015, Epstein is connecting Belyaev with Peter Thiel. Belyaev was put in direct contact with Thiel, who asked his executive assistant to arrange an in-person meeting in July 2015. This is an FSB-trained Russian official meeting with the co-founder of Palantir, America's most powerful surveillance contractor, at the request of Jeffrey Epstein. Thiel's interest in crypto wasn't abstract. He once declared, "Bitcoin is what PayPal should have been." His firms invested heavily in blockchain infrastructure. But here's the strategic layer. Cryptocurrency offers something governments hate: financial transactions outside state control. Thiel, the libertarian, wants freedom from government oversight. Russia, the authoritarian state under sanctions, wants to evade Western financial surveillance. And Epstein, the connector, brings them together. Signal and encrypted communications. The 2016 dinners with Churkin weren't just social. According to the files, Epstein urged both Thiel and Tom Barrack to download Signal, the encrypted messaging app. "Let's catch up," Barrack wrote in response to a March 9, 2016 email from Epstein expressing frustration about reporters. Epstein replied, "Send photos of you and child. Make me smile." Then urged Signal, "I am in Turkey. There Monday. I will call you." "We'll download now," Barrack responded. Encrypted communications. Russian diplomats. Cryptocurrency discussions. Silicon Valley surveillance technology. All orchestrated through a convicted sex offender's Manhattan townhouse, in the middle of a presidential campaign where Russia was actively interfering through social media manipulation and email hacking. The timeline converges. Let me connect the timeline. June 16th, 2015. Donald Trump announces his presidential campaign. August 2015. Epstein hosts a dinner at 2 Michelin star Balm in Palo Alto. Attendees include Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Reid Hoffman, and Priscilla Chan. Days later, Epstein's assistant emails Zuckerberg's chief of staff. Jeffrey Epstein attended Reid Hoffman, Peter Thiel's dinner party this past Sunday night. At the party, Mark requested Jeffrey send his contact details to him. November 18, 2018. Epstein emails Thiel. I liked your Trump exaggerations, not lies. Then suggests, Deck visit me, Caribbean. This is after the election, after Trump's victory. Epstein is referencing Thiel's public statements about Trump, statements critics called lies, and Epstein is praising him for it. Then, inviting him to the island. The calendar shows Epstein tracked Trump-Clinton polling, campaign personnel, appointments linked to Bitcoin and fintech. This wasn't passive interest. This was active intelligence gathering. And the network he built, Thiel for Silicon Valley and surveillance Barrack for Trump access and Middle East connections, Barrack for Israeli intelligence, Churkin for Russian coordination. It all converged in 2016. The surveillance empire. Here's where the money trail becomes crucial. The $40 million Valor investment wasn't Epstein's only financial connection to Thiel's empire. There was Carbine, originally called Reporty Homeland Security, an Israeli emergency response platform using AI and real-time data to coordinate security responses. In February 2016, Epstein pitched Reporty to Valor Ventures. Andrew McCormick, Valor's general partner, responded, "We'd love to hear more about Reporty." After meeting with the team, McCormack rejected the proposal as premature, but added, "We remain fans of what you are building and hope to re-engage in the future." 2018, 2 years later, Founders Fund, another firm co-founded by Thiel, joined Carbine's $15 million Series B funding round. By then, Epstein had invested $1.5 million in the company. Ehud Barak served as chairman. The technology designed for emergency services had obvious surveillance applications. According to investigative journalist Whitney Webb, Carbine was founded by veterans of Unit 8200, Israel's elite signals intelligence unit, the same unit that produced the founders of NSO Group, makers of Pegasus spyware. And here's the kicker. After Trump's election, when President Trump asked tech companies to detect mass shooters before they strike, Carbine, backed by Epstein and Thiel, positioned itself as exactly that solution. Surveillance technology marketed as public safety, built by intelligence operatives, funded by a sex trafficker and a libertarian billionaire, sold to American law enforcement. Follow the logic. Thiel's Palantir already held massive contracts with the CIA, FBI, NSA, Marine Corps, Air Force, Special Operations Command. The UK's Labour government awarded Palantir a £330 million contract to build an NHS data platform, despite Palantir being a US spy tech firm, despite Thiel's documented Epstein connections. Follow the logic. Epstein invests in Thiel's Valor Ventures. Epstein and Thiel both invest in Israeli surveillance firm Carbine. Thiel's Palantir wins government contracts worth billions. Epstein introduces Thiel to Russian officials. Thiel backs Trump. Surveillance contracts expand. The return on $40 million isn't just the $170 million in Valor. It's access to every level of the emerging surveillance state, from Silicon Valley to Israeli intelligence to Russian diplomatic channels to the Trump administration. And Epstein, the convicted pedophile, sat at the center, connecting every node. What this means for you? Let me make this personal, because this isn't just about billionaires and diplomats. Palantir's NHS contract gives the company access to health records for the entire United Kingdom, cancer diagnoses, mental health treatment, genetic information, pregnancy records, all flowing into a database controlled by a firm co-founded by someone who took $40 million from Jeffrey Epstein. Carbine's emergency response system requires access to location data, camera feeds, biometric information. When you call 911 in jurisdictions using their platform, Every detail gets captured, analyzed, stored by technology developed with Epstein's investment, marketed through Thiel's network, deployed through government contracts. The woman who called 911 because her ex-boyfriend was threatening her. She doesn't know her location data went into a system backed by a sex trafficker's money. The parent reporting a missing child, they don't know facial recognition technology funded by Epstein is scanning for their daughter. The activist organizing a protest, they don't know Palantir's predictive policing algorithms, developed with CIA contracts, are flagging them as a threat. The geopolitical chessboard. Now zoom out to the bigger picture, because the Epstein-Thiel Churkin dinners don't exist in a vacuum. Vitaly Churkin organized Trump's first Moscow visit in 1987, part of a KGB operation to identify potential American assets. In January 1984, KGB Chief Vladimir Kryuchkov ordered more creative methods of identifying and recruiting talent. Yuri Dubinin, Soviet ambassador to the UN, took his daughter Natalia on a tour of New York. First stop, Trump Tower. Dubinin later recalled, Trump melted at once. He is an emotional person, somewhat impulsive. He needs recognition. And when he gets it, he likes it. My father's visit worked on him like honey to a bee. When Dubinin and Kryuchkov were ready for Trump to travel to Moscow for advanced cultivation, it was 34-year-old Vitaly Churkin who arranged the trip. The same Churkin who 3 decades later would be dining at Epstein's townhouse with Peter Thiel and Tom Barrack during the 2016 campaign. The files show Epstein desperately wanted Putin's attention. In 2016, he asked Norwegian Prime Minister Thorbjørn Jagland when he would see Putin. In 2017, he asked Jagland to talk to Putin about digital currencies, the future. June 20th, 2018, would love to meet Putin. 4 days later, Epstein tries to pass a message to Russia's top diplomat via Jagland. I think you might suggest to Putin that Lavrov can get insight by talking to me. Lavrov, Russia's Minister of Foreign Affairs and close Putin ally. Epstein adds, Vitaly Churkin used to, but he died. Translation, Churkin was Epstein's channel to Putin. Now he needed a new one. 71 days before the election. While Trump's campaign chairman Paul Manafort was secretly sharing polling data with Russian intelligence operative Konstantin Kilimnik, while Russian hackers had stolen DNC emails, while the Internet Research Agency was running massive social media campaigns. At Epstein's townhouse, Churkin was meeting with Thiel and Barrack, Trump's biggest Silicon Valley backer and his longest-serving advisor. The subject of these meetings? Officially unspecified. But the context? Cryptocurrency discussions that help evade sanctions. Surveillance technology Russia could adapt. Connections between Trump's orbit and Putin's representatives. This is the infrastructure of influence. What happens next? This story is far from over. The $40 million Valor investment remains secret until June 2025, 6 years after Epstein's death. The full scope of the Thiel-Epstein relationship only became clear with the January 31st, 2026 DOJ document dump. Multiple congressional Democrats have demanded investigations. Senator Elizabeth Warren called for probes into whether the Epstein-Thiel financial relationship violated disclosure requirements. Representative Jamie Raskin requested full transcripts of all Epstein meetings with government officials and political operatives. But here's the problem. The evidence is fragmentary. Epstein's dead. Churkin's dead. The encrypted signal conversations, gone. The meetings that happened off-calendar, unrecorded. What we have are calendar entries, emails, investment documents, all showing coordination, connection, strategic relationship building during a presidential election. But proving conspiracy requires more than calendars. The response is Thiel's response. He was naive and didn't think enough about what Epstein's agenda might have been. Standard Silicon Valley defense. Smart enough to build Palantir's surveillance empire. Too naive to research a convicted sex offender before taking $40 million, smart enough to navigate geopolitics and intelligence contracts, too naive to wonder why Epstein kept introducing him to Russian diplomats. Tom Barrack, now U.S. ambassador to Turkey and special envoy to Syria, has declined all comment, despite emails showing years of communication with Epstein, despite attending dinners with Russian and Israeli officials, despite downloading Signal at Epstein's urging, despite the "send photos of you and child" message. He's representing American interests in the Middle East with documented ties to a sex trafficking network. The Valor Ventures investment, still locked up, can't be distributed as cash because venture capital funds have extended lockup periods. So the $170 million sits there, growing, the largest asset in Epstein's estate. But victims won't see it. According to the New York Times, the money is more likely to go to Epstein's ex-girlfriend and 2 long-term advisors named as estate beneficiaries. The women Epstein trafficked got $500,000 to $2 million each in restitution. The Thiel investment, $170 million and counting, goes to Epstein's inner circle. The system protected him in life, rewards his associates in death. The real operation, here's what you need to understand. The Epstein network wasn't about sex trafficking alone. That was the leverage, the blackmail, the insurance policy. But the real operation was influence architecture, connecting people who should never be in the same room, facilitating relationships between Russian diplomats and Silicon Valley billionaires, creating financial interdependencies between Israeli intelligence and American tech, building the infrastructure for surveillance capitalism to merge with authoritarian politics. Peter Thiel gets $170 million in investment capital, access to Israeli surveillance technology, introductions to Russian officials, connections throughout Trump's inner circle, and the price, $40 million from a convicted pedophile, plus whatever Epstein learned in those encrypted Signal conversations, whatever leverage those dinners provided, whatever compromising information 3 years of lunches and meetings generated. I've studied every major intelligence operation of the last 50 years, from COINTELPRO to Cambridge Analytica to the Steele dossier. And they all share one characteristic. The deepest connections stay hidden the longest. The most valuable relationships never appear in official documents. And the people with the most to hide always claim they barely knew each other.